She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA.
What Rebecca Lobo is about to reveal regarding Caitlin Clark and WNBA officiating is genuinely staggering, and the league's leadership can't brush it aside any longer. Because while we just witnessed the clearest display yet of the Caitlin Clark effect following the disastrous officiating in the Fever-Sun matchup, that same refereeing problem has the potential to damage the entire WNBA. And Rebecca, one of the league's true legends, has officially sounded the alarm. This goes beyond simple analysis. She exposed what insiders across the league have been saying privately about the state of officiating. The league definitely won't appreciate it, but every word needed to be said because if the last year has taught us anything, it's that the WNBA hasn't learned how to properly handle its biggest star, Caitlin Clark. We're going to break down Rebecca's comments, along with the developing situation surrounding the Fever news that's incredible in many ways, yet also highlights the league's troubling inaction. But first, like this video. Every like counts as an extra whistle for the refs, since the one they have clearly isn't doing much. And make sure to subscribe for more updates on Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Now let's rewind because the WNBA needs a reminder.
The nerve, the second-year player clearing out that side of the floor, shooting on Stewie, and then watch the reaction with one another. Stewie's laughing.
As I'm writing this, Caitlin Clark's explosive return happened only a few games ago. She put up 25 points in the first half alone, knocking down 3 deep logo shots in just 38 seconds. A run so electric it didn't just remind fans what they'd been missing. It reminded the league exactly who's in the driver's seat.
And Cunningham is down behind the play, but they've got Caitlin Clark. 2 players with incredible Clark, another long 3. She's back!
This was the statement to end all statements, the game that made everything undeniable. The WNBA doesn't just gain from Caitlin Clark's presence. It depends on her. And those 5 games she missed weren't just a rough stretch. They were a warning sign. Viewership slipped. Social numbers plummeted. National buzz disappeared. And suddenly, every storyline without Caitlin felt like background chatter.
But here we go with Caitlin Clark, singularly, being missing for the time she was gone, and ratings tanking, 50% in some cases. And then also she comes back and reminds everyone how spectacular she is, and everybody's talking about the WNBA. So if you needed to sort of have it affirmed to you that it is just her, that the singularity of her is what we are talking about, and her star power, you got it with this absence and then the way she came back.
After weeks of sinking ratings and growing scrutiny, Caitlin Clark's return didn't just revive the Fever, it revived the entire WNBA. Their game against the Liberty hit a peak of 2.8 million viewers, making it one of the most watched broadcasts in league history. For comparison, the NHL's Stanley Cup Final averaged 2.5 million viewers. And sure, hockey and basketball aren't a perfect one-to-one comparison, but Caitlin Clark just outdrew a century-old men's league in its championship round. That's far from normal. While WNBA leadership somehow seems to be ignoring what this means, which we'll get to shortly, Rebecca Lobo, Olympic gold medalist, Hall of Famer, and arguably ESPN's most balanced voice, hasn't missed the significance. Before we break down her remarks about the officials, listen to how she described the magnitude of Clark's return.
Rebecca, tell me, what does Clark's return mean for the WNBA?
Well, I mean, it means a lot more people are paying attention once again. We know how much Caitlin drives ratings. We know how much Caitlin drives attention on the WNBA. And for her to come back and do it in that way was just ridiculous.
Pay attention to what Rebecca Lobo pointed out. People are watching again. It's a simple line, yet it says everything. Because if people are watching again, it means they stopped watching. And we all know exactly when that happened. When Caitlin Clark wasn't on the floor. And Lobo didn't stop there. She went on to explain why fans immediately flooded back the second Clark returned.
I'm sitting there at the end of the first quarter when she had that 38-second stretch where she drained deep 3 after deep 3 after deep 3. I was just sitting there thinking, I've been around this league since 1997. I have never seen that in a WNBA game. Have we seen players go on runs? Of course we have, but not like that. Not where a couple of the three-pointers are from 30-plus feet. It was an exhibition by her.
That's the thing. These weren't just long mid-range jumpers or routine deep threes. These were logo-range missiles from another universe. Very few players can hit those shots regularly and with that level of ease, which is exactly why fans keep tuning in. Even Natasha Cloud, who has been openly critical of Caitlin's fanbase, had to admit what's obvious. You have to defend her the moment she crosses half court. That's not normal. Just ask Rebecca.
It was just ridiculous. It's not often that you're watching the WNBA or that I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, I've just never seen this before.
All of this makes what's been happening, not only since Caitlin returned, but honestly throughout last season and now even more this year, incredibly alarming. Because we're no longer talking about occasional missed whistles or physical defense. We're looking at a pattern, one so obvious and so consistent that even veteran WNBA voices like Rebecca Lobo are stepping forward to call it out. And the game against the Sun should have been a wake-up call that rattled the entire league.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
JC Sheldon and Marina Mabry practically double-teamed Caitlin Clark mid-drive. First with a swipe across the face, then a full body check that sent her to the floor. And somehow neither one was tossed from the game. And look, I'm not pretending Caitlin wasn't jawing with JC earlier. She absolutely was. But talking trash doesn't give anyone a free pass to take someone out. You can't slam the league's biggest star to the hardwood like it's pro wrestling and think it'll be ignored. Even the broadcasters were taken aback. You could hear the disbelief in their tone. They expected an ejection. And around the league, the reaction was identical. Coaches, analysts, fans, even other players were shocked by what went down.
Hey, we would have been crashing out, RT.
Courtney, if somebody ever tackles you like that,
Nobody would ever tackle me like that. They would play with Bridget like that, and then we would have to like take it up there.
okay.
You see what I'm saying?
But I'm just saying.
Nobody would ever tell me like
If
that.
that ever happened, you better crash out behind me, because I'm crashing out behind you. We can share the same jail cell.
Yes, the face swipe and shove on Caitlin was the clip that went viral the moment everyone is dissecting, but it wasn't some random explosion. The tension had been rising all game long, and the officials kept letting it simmer unchecked.
This is JC Sheldon right here with an entire handful of Caitlin Clark's shoulder and bicep, and she's twisting it. Okay? I mean, this is wild. Here's the zoomed out look, the snapshot. I mean, this league does not have control of its players.
And that simmering frustration turned into a boil almost instantly. Naturally, Stephanie White was furious afterward. Her expression said everything before she even opened her mouth. She sat at the podium, took a slow breath, and then completely unloaded.
You know, the game has changed so much. Players are faster, they're better, they're bigger, they're stronger. You know, they're as good as they've ever been. They're as athletic as they've ever been. The game is fast now. Things are happening quickly. Everybody's getting better, except the officials.
And honestly, that's about as harsh as you can scorch the officials without calling them out by name. We're improving and you're not. It's a ruthless line, and it cuts straight to what so many coaches, players, and fans have been feeling for months. And here's the truth. This didn't start with the Sun game. It's been escalating all season. Missed whistles, uneven calls, and a noticeable difference in how someone like Caitlin Clark is officiated. And not in a protective way.
What was that play? Oh my god, this is rigged. This is rigged. She got yanked, fell on her hip. That's a hack! That's a hack! That's a hack! Oh my god, they hacked the one upon her and they hacked Caitlin Clark. They are both hacks. They are both hacks. They hacked Fever twice, and then there was a phantom foul called on Sabrina Ionescu.
Even back in the preseason, it was obvious the Fever weren't getting a fair whistle. But everything boiled over during their 90-88 loss to the Liberty. That matchup became a breaking point for fans and players alike. The officiating felt heavily tilted. New York was getting every light touch called. while Indiana couldn't buy a foul. The free throw disparity alone was glaring, with the Liberty stacking up trips to the line and the Fever barely getting any. But what truly ignited outrage were the questionable decisions, or non-decisions, in the closing minutes. The worst came on the final play. Caitlin Clark was clearly fouled by Natasha Cloud, unable to even attempt a shot. Multiple replays confirmed it, and social media exploded. Analysts highlighted it. Fans were livid. And Stephanie White? She absolutely erupted.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways.
It's ironic she was fined for that incident, but not for tearing into the refs after the Sun game. It almost felt like the league was quietly admitting fault, like even they knew that call couldn't be defended. And honestly, they should acknowledge it. Because before we get to what Rebecca Lobo said, which is both revealing and genuinely risky for the league, we need to recognize how widespread the frustration has become across the entire WNBA.
The second time where I'm attacking, it's very physical. I'm saying something to the ref, watch my landing space, watch physicality. I get laughed at, and it ends in my ankle getting turned. The same thing happened in Dallas, a flagrant that wasn't called. Same thing happened here. So my ankle is hanging in there, but it's starting to get very frustrating. I'm averaging less than 2 free throws a game, and I drive, I'm physical. I'm not someone who's avoiding contact. So I just hope that the safety of players starts to become a priority versus the ego of refs.
Referees are literally laughing at players when they bring up concerns about overly physical play. Not just brushing them off, but laughing while athletes are saying, "I'm going to get hurt if this keeps happening." And now we circle back to Rebecca Lobo and what all of this means for Caitlin Clark. Because here's the reality. If Caitlin goes down, everything collapses. Everybody knows this, the fans, the players, the broadcasters, the league itself, whether they admit it publicly or not. And Rebecca, to her credit, didn't sugarcoat it. She said what needed to be said in the most diplomatic way possible. But if you actually pay attention to her words, the message is even more alarming than it appears.
She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA, and all of them said it needs to get better. Specifically, the consistency, not only from one game to the next, but the consistency within a game.
Did you notice what she said? She didn't say a few coaches were uneasy. She said all of them. Every single coach she's spoken with agrees the officiating has become a major issue. And here's where it gets even more troubling. Because if every coach believes the refs have lost control, then they're left with no option but to adapt. They're forced to follow a different kind of rule book, the unspoken one that says, if officials won't protect our players, we will. And that's the point where things turn dangerous.
One coach told me, we tell our players to be as physical as they can possibly be for 40 minutes because we know for 38 of them, they're pretty much going to get away with it. So I think everybody would like to see a tighter whistle and a little bit more freedom of movement.
Exactly. It's like telling drivers to floor it because there's no highway patrol. And if you don't speed, you'll fall behind, even if it's unsafe. That's essentially what the WNBA is signaling right now. By refusing to raise the standard of officiating, they're creating a landscape where players feel pressured to be more physical, even recklessly so, because it's about survival. And everyone knows the refs won't intervene. We've already seen the consequences. Blatant hits on Caitlin Clark, unnecessary contact, rising tempers from coaches, and boiling frustration among fans. And eventually, when the same thing keeps happening over and over, it stops feeling like negligence and starts resembling intent. As if the league is silently saying that when it comes to defending Caitlin Clark, anything goes.
And they just kept shoving Caitlin. They're like, well, they can't just keep calling fouls. I'm like, they're literally just running around hacking her. The referees have made it like a point that this is how you beat the Fever. You hack them. You don't even, it's not being physical. You just hack them. Because the referees are going to allow them to be hacked. Late in the game with the Fever, hack them. Not being physical, hack them. Don't go for the ball, hack them.
And look, I understand the idea. Kathy Engelbert wants rivalries. She literally mentioned in an interview that players aren't supposed to be friendly, and in principle that's fine. Rivalries sell. A little edge can elevate the product. But this is a massive misread of the moment. Because when it comes to Caitlin Clark, the WNBA doesn't need staged conflict or cheap shots. They already have the most talked about, most watched, and most marketable athlete in women's sports. And we just got the clearest reminder of why.
That's a flagrant foul. It's a hard foul.
Everyone cites the ratings with Caitlin Clark on the court compared to when she's out. That storyline is well known. But what just happened with Sophie Cunningham might be the most overlooked example yet of the power of the Caitlin Clark effect.
As we expected, Sophie Cunningham has reached 1 million followers. 1 million followers. Sophie Cunningham on TikTok has gained, if I'm not mistaken, I think she has gained nearly 900,000 followers. It's at least 700,000. Sophie Cunningham on TikTok now has 1 million followers.
Sophie stood up for Caitlin, and overnight she turned into a sensation. She gained more than 1 million followers across social platforms. Her TikTok comments were filled wall-to-wall with love from Clark fans, people thanking her for stepping up. Messages like, "Guess I'm watching the WNBA now," or "I need a Cunningham jersey ASAP." But here's the key. This isn't only about Sophie. It's about a blueprint. Just like we saw a perfect example of what happens when Caitlin is missing, we just saw what happens when players support her. Fans rally behind those who back Clark. They root for their teams. They start following the league. Sometimes it's gradual, but it can also happen instantly. And none of that is possible if Caitlin isn't playing. So say what you want about officiating or physical play, there has to be a limit.
The Indiana Fever, they need to go hockey, and let me explain this. The great Wayne Gretzky, the greatest hockey player in my lifetime, okay, all respect due to Gordie Howe and everyone else, but they had a rule in the National Hockey League, and I've heard quotes where defensemen have said, they were asked, "Hey, how come you don't nail Gretzky along the board?" They said, "No, we'll hit him." But they say, "We'll never take a cheap shot, we'll never take anything unnecessary or anything too far, because we understand his importance to the league, and part of our paycheck we owe to him."
No one's saying players can't be physical with Caitlin Clark. She's tough, she can handle contact, and she isn't asking for special treatment. But going after her face the way JC Sheldon did crosses a clear line. That's not defense, that's an attempt to injure. And when the target is the league's primary star, the athlete driving ratings, ticket sales, merchandise, and national attention, that kind of recklessness doesn't just endanger Caitlin. It jeopardizes the league's future. It's not only dangerous, it's wildly short-sighted. Candace Parker, a WNBA legend, explained it perfectly.
And so I think that the WNBA as a whole is in an amazing place. Now it's about business to me.
Kathy's right about one thing. Caitlin Clark isn't just part of the WNBA's future. She is the future. And if the league can't figure out how to protect its biggest asset, from reckless fouls, from inconsistent officiating, from jealousy-fueled nonsense, then it doesn't deserve the benefits she brings. Because here's what happens when you support Caitlin Clark. Ratings climb, jerseys sell out, new fans jump in, and the entire ecosystem grows, players, teams, sponsors, broadcasters, everyone. So yes, Rebecca Lobo said what had to be said, but the real question now is whether anyone in power is actually listening. Because the next time Caitlin gets knocked to the floor, it may not just cost her a game. It could cost the WNBA everything. If you read to the end, drop a basketball emoji in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.